So this is for it's supposed to be attached to the last one where I was talking about NDEs and light phenomena. So these various forms of light phenomena, and when I say light phenomena, I'm really talking about ether mingling or coming through and holographically presenting itself either in this dimension or sort of like a mirage. Sometimes it's fluttering on the ground. Let's just say sort of a traditional specter. That's also a light phenomenon. Like if you see a form, partially formed, moving around in this dimension. I don't like to say theatrical stuff, but just like a traditional ghost, that counts. But all this stuff is related. So another thing I want to talk about, I may have mentioned this, but something that happened to me in relation to light phenomena. Just to make a long story short, my parents, or my stepmother and my father and myself, right before she passed away, we saw an amazing phenomenon that I knew was going to happen, and I called them down. I was over there visiting them, doing laundry, and this was late at night, and this is weeks before she passed away from cancer. And it's one of the few times I went into what I call extreme holographic mode. It's where entities remove an area around, it could be your entire house, and bend time. They extract time, and you go through something and it can be so hypnotic. If you're not actively a mystery student, you'll start to forget about it and even convince yourself you never saw it. That's also how you know you're dealing with peaceful, compassionate entities. They'll allow you to forget because they're altering the waves of your mind. They're altering things that can be easily taken out of your memory bank. So when that happened, I noticed afterwards, because he saw light phenomenon. Anybody that sees light phenomenon, sky, ground, wherever, you have an option. If you embody love and compassion, and that's presenting itself to you, most of the time that means there's an option for you. There's an option for you to learn something. And as much as I don't like the remote viewing culture, the government, the CIA, remote viewing, there is a significance in that technique. I don't use that often. I've done it a couple times. It's too prone to error and too prone to be invaded by negative entities that are like in 5D or like they'll if you're seeing an image, let's say in a crystal, or if you're closing your eyes and you're trying to remote view, what you see can easily be manipulated. It's just not trustworthy. But I'm going to connect that to what happened with my dad, because remote viewing is a utilization of ether. I'm using very basic terminology, spirit particles, but I argue that when you're doing that, it gravitates towards negative, because there's no way really to serve others remote viewing. You could say, well, I'm going to look into the future and predict a tragedy and save somebody. Well, what you're seeing is never exactly what's going to happen. It's almost like the dream world, where you're seeing this sort of like exaggerated version. But nevertheless, you can remote view, and there are people that are good at it. It's not something that I think that they should be writing books about and having the public do. That's what I'm trying to say, is it's not a pastime. I mean, you're just basically channeling. I mean, and if you haven't dedicated your life to spiritual practice and you try to remote viewing, it's never going to work properly. But I'm going to bring up Russell Targ's book, Limitless Mind, because I learned about funny things that happen in the remote viewing experiments, where like I think one of the famous ones is someone says they see like a spire of a chapel, and it was really a one of those merry-go-round things. It looks exactly the same, and the target or whatever was at a playground. So they were basically seeing what that person was seeing, and this carries over for any sort of attempting to contact or attempting to mingle with super sensible realm, and that's where that remote viewing comes from. So what happened with my father was he saw light phenomenon. Wasn't quite sure what he saw. He admitted that my stepmom saw something. He's in denial. He still believes deep down that there's a Satan and a God, a monotheism. That's why most people, a lot of people are scared, even when they say they're spiritual, not religious, but yet deep down they believe in a hell realm and a heaven realm. So I think that's where he's stuck at. Like, he won't admit he didn't want to admit what he saw. But the next day, or this was a couple of days later, he exhibited phenomenon that's consistent with what Russell Targ talks about with when people make funny mistakes. Now, when you see light phenomenon of various forms, you can start to have psychic things happen to you for a period of days. It could be weeks, because that's part of that trying to wake you up. There's an option. There's a key that's given to people that have NDEs, that have contact, that have any kind of super sensible contact, and they're supposed to find the lock to use that key. The lock is wanting to know more about the mysteries of the universe. So my dad was sitting there kind of like in this time period where he's got his spirit organ like partially unwound due to seeing an extreme phenomenon, right? And I was there. We don't do this anymore, but sometimes when he went to like Sam's Club, and if I knew he was going on his Sunday, I would be at home at my apartment. I'd say, "Hey, can you pick me up, like a bag of vegetables or tilapia or something?" And I had asked him to pick me up. I'd sent him a text because I knew he was going to the store on a Sunday, and I asked him to pick me up a box of tilapia, right? And all of a sudden, I get a knock on my door like 15, 20 minutes later. It's my dad. Now, bear in mind, he's the type of person that never just shows up, ever. He always calls. He'll be like, I'm at the light around the corner. He just never does that. He had some kind of urge to spontaneously show up with an item from Sam's Club, and they were frozen vegetables. All right? So this is so funny because he got a psychic impulse to give me something, and it was so strong that he didn't even he didn't check his text message. Because when he got there, I was like, you didn't get that message? I was like, you didn't get that? He's like, what message? He didn't even look at his phone. He missed the whole message. So he never saw my message come in, but he felt the impulse to get me something. Okay, and then he got me something that I like, but it wasn't exactly the item. Okay, so that goes to show you how strong that connection is after phenomena. Okay, of this can be healing. It can be, it also has to do with your way of life. You're being called to experience this. Okay, so you ever heard that term, short time to be here, long time to be gone? Well, if we come from the super sensible realm and we're going back, we're not here to experience the super sensible realm. You're missing the purpose unless you're a worker who is chosen to come back here, is sent back here, and you have to figure this out, okay? So if you're an esoteric researcher, like myself, you dive in to that other realm that technically you're not supposed to be in this biological experience, but you're doing it because that's your job. You're a worker that has to do that because there's something going on in your planet where, in this case, the problem of evil is maxed out, and that's when angelic help can interfere. And again, angelic help, the beings that play by the rules, can interfere to a certain extent. And so that's something to think about, how a near-death experience, paranormal contact, remote viewing, mind sight, like I talked about last time, people seeing that are blind when they're going through their near-death experiences, and they can explain it, what everybody was wearing in the room, haven't been able to see for 20 years, These are all connected. It's getting access to the super sensible realm through spirit particles, spirit energy. And it presents itself in our, so we can decode this.